Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. You're looking at this maybe, and if you have seen Mo Carr, who's been on with us before, and say that looks like Jada instead of Mo Carr, you are right about that. I got a voice message about 5:30 in the morning my time saying I've been sick with a fever up all night. I cannot do it, and so oops, wait a minute. I'm not. Are we going live? Oh
Oh,
yeah, we
I'll
are.
fix that in the
Right.
background, you guys. This is the type
Oh,
of
it's
thing I
it
was
got
doing.
one line that's not going. Okay,
You're
that's
fine.
fine.
You can keep talking,
Okay, we're
Steve.
good. So today we are going to flip the script. We're going to actually do this next week because I'm going to have cataract surgery next. Actually, I'm having cataract surgery tomorrow, and the next week I'm doing the other eye. And so Jada is. We were planning on having her pre-interview me, but we're going to do it live. And so with that, we're going to run the intro, and then I'm going to step out of the hosting seat and hand it over to Jada. Hey guys, Steve Moran here.
Let me switch the views really quickly. Hi, guys. I'm Jada. I am the producer for Tech Tuesday and Foresight TV. I feel like a lot of you guys wouldn't recognize my face, and maybe I should be more active on LinkedIn because of that. But I am always behind the scenes on Tech Tuesday and Foresight TV, moving around camera angles and running tech and stuff like that. And this is my first time. It's not my first time in front of the camera, but I feel it's my first time doing a full episode one-on-one with Steve. So I have some questions for him today. And I always tell people that if something happens, I will hop on and kind of host with them until Steve gets back. And I'm not the same type of host as Steve is, but I'll try to keep the conversation good for today.
And she might be better. I just want to say maybe you're gonna. Well, what we're gonna hear afterwards is, oh yeah, that Jada is fire Steve. Never let him on again.
I don't think so. Also, Steve, I'm going to go side by side because I think trying to move cameras angles while we're talking is going to get me. But I don't think so. I think after the show, you guys are going to be like, okay, maybe you shouldn't have had her on live stream. But okay, so I have questions, and forgive me if I look to the side. I'm not going to like read verbatim, but I want to make sure that I'm hitting all my points before the 30 minutes is up. But I wanted to start off with a question on my mind that it's not just about age tech, but I feel like on every app and everything I'm watching, I'm getting an ad these days about, and I also feel like they're tracking me a little bit. Like you could talk in a room and say, oh, I haven't had Reese's cups in a while. And suddenly you're getting a whole bunch of Reese's cups ads, and like you're getting inundated with ads from a whole bunch of different products and things they're using and things like that. And so I'm curious how you feel, how you make your buying choices, how you think operators should make their buying choices, and how to weed through the noise when there's a lot of different things you could be buying. Like what is most relevant, and how do you because marketing, right, it's meant to make you think you need something. And how do you, or are you like a victim to that is my question. Like, do you
Well, you're almost asking two questions, right? So
yeah,
I'm going to talk about.
I
I want to talk about the privacy thing for a minute.
Yeah.
I actually don't worry about privacy very much, but not probably for the reasons that you would think. I just assume that I have no privacy.
Yeah.
That there's almost nothing about me that if somebody really wanted to find it, I suspect that, and this is true for almost all of us, I suspect if somebody wanted to figure out how to get my social security number and how to track me, that it's so easy to do. I get, like a lot of people, I get a lot of spam phone calls. And if you call me and I don't have your number in the phone, probably I won't answer it because I tend to not answer those. And I'll leave me a voicemail and I'll get back to you. Which reminds me, I think I've got one of those I need to deal with that came in either yesterday or today. But I will get back to those. So to start with, it's really creepy. I have a friend who told me about sort of a service tech service that's being provided for thought leaders in not just this industry, but all industries. And we've been talking about it on the phone. And he said he'd send me the link, the information on it. And so what he did is he sent me, I reached out, he hadn't done it. So I reached out, he sent me a link to the founder of this particular company. Clicked on the founder's LinkedIn page. And then I clicked through to the company page. And within, I don't know, an hour, I'd received an invite from this guy inviting me to connect. Now, it could be just as simple as him going to LinkedIn and seeing who had clicked on his profile, which I will do, and I'd actually recommend that people do every once in a while. But I actually think that it probably was some automated tool that tracked my IP and said, "Oh yeah, that's Steve Moran. Just hit our website. Why don't you go connect with him?" So I accepted the connection. I haven't talked to him yet. Doing some interesting stuff. He's doing some really interesting stuff that, by the way, we're going to talk about either our team meeting internally or at our meeting we have today later today.
I was going to say really quickly before you answered another part of that question is I feel like that works on some people and doesn't work on others. Like you would connect, you're like, oh, this is interesting. They might've found me from an automated thing. For me, I'm like, how did you find me? Like I'm a very big, like on privacy online. So I feel like, I don't know, I guess that could affect different people different ways.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question before we get back to the rest of your question. Why do you assume you have any privacy online?
I don't, but like, it's not that I assume I have privacy online. I just feel like people online can already find out so much about you. Whatever you put out there, I feel like matters. So it's not that I'm sure anyone don't do this, but if you can look up my phone number online and text me after the show, but I'm like, I shouldn't be putting it online just because they can find me, if that makes sense. So it's not like, I know it's like a false sense of privacy, but that's kind of my thought process on it.
Okay. Yeah. So I just think I get it. And, the thing I actually get because I assume that I don't have any privacy, I don't worry about that stuff. I get a lot more bugged about people who invade my inbox or my LinkedIn DM, which I hate a lot. In fact, I actually, as you know, I published did a post on LinkedIn last week about somebody who was using AI to spam me, and the AI was done very badly. But again, going off into a little bit of a tangent, I got a call yesterday from somebody who's trying to sell me an AI suite of tools to help with sales and marketing. And I wasn't particularly interested. And I said, well, maybe I'll talk to you in a couple months. I got some big things going on right now and I don't have time. But after I got off it, I thought, I wonder if I was talking to a real human or an AI.
It was that bad where you couldn't tell?
Well, no, it was pretty good, which is why I couldn't tell. But that's what made me nervous. And then and I told him, I said, well, why don't you call me in a couple months? And then I got a voice from, that's the one I was going to check on, but I actually know who it was because I did listen to it. I got a voicemail from this guy early this morning saying, hey, I promised to call you today, which he didn't do, which we didn't agree to do, which makes me even more wonder if that was AI rather than a real human being. So I don't know. Okay, so let's go to the buying thing though.
Yeah.
So I think it's a very, very difficult problem. There are so the first problem is that you often don't know what you need, right? You don't know that you need anything. And then maybe you look at it and you say, well, I need something, but I don't know what it is. And there are going to be some salespeople who are really good, some salespeople who are not good. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of times you're going to buy from the person who's a better salesperson, not necessarily the person with the best tool. And that's really hard. So you've got to be really objective. And the best thing to do is, if you can, is to try out the technology and tools. But I think that always you need to start with this question. What is the problem I'm trying to solve? Why does this solution, how does this solution solve the problem? Is it a big enough problem to spend money on and time and energy on? And what makes this solution better than other solutions that are out there? And I would add that vendors, solution providers, when I talk to the solution providers and I go, so tell me what problem you solve. Usually they'll tell me what the product does, but they won't tell me what the problem is.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem.
Yeah. I was also thinking like along those lines of making those buying decisions, because I feel like, and this is again not just an operator problem, this is a worldwide corporate problem. I feel like a lot of people that are in charge of companies or businesses are getting asked to do with more with less money, there's less staffing, less money, and there's like the margins, they want to increase profit and the margins are kind of off. And so I'm curious if, how do you think an operator should operate if they are wanting to invest in a product that's not necessarily showing an ROI on their investment, that they think, this will help my residents and it'll create a better community in general, but it looks like I'm just, this business is just eating our money. Does that make sense? Like, how do you think they should go about that? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think so first off, it's a really, really good question. And I think that, sometimes we all buy things because we look at that and we say, oh, that looks cool. That's fun. And then we say, well, how much is it? Can I afford it? I don't know whether it's going to work. I'm going to try it and see. And if I don't, I will continue doing that. So I'll give you an example because you know about it. There's this company that has these things like sharks jumping out of the screen and stuff like that you can use on LinkedIn to create videos. And I bought that. It's like $30 a month. I've tried it with a couple of things. The first one I used it on, it didn't work very well. And so I thought it was really cool, but I actually think I'm not going to keep it because I don't think it's got the value. And it was just an experiment, right? So I think that sometimes you try those things, but I also think that if you buy technology and it really improves the resident experience or the family experience, even if you can't tie it directly to ROI, I think that you see an ROI value, and there's sometimes it's really hard to evaluate, but you sort of can say, now I've got this thing, are my residents using it? Does it make them happier? Are they more active? Are they more interactive with the staff? How does my staff feel about it? And you make, but it's going to be a lot of it, I think, is going to be pretty intuitive.
Yeah. And I also like that you mentioned the staff, because I feel like we can talk about that, because low staffing is like a problem, and how we go about making like people that work in senior living communities, their lives easier. Do you have any thoughts on products that are working? Do we have enough products that are helping our caregivers take care of residents? Because we actually talked with Allie, maybe the last episode or the one before that, about an incontinence product that I thought was amazing, because it wasn't about replacing any of the staff in the community. It was about cutting down time, I think 30 minutes to 10 or something, on what a caregiver is spending, where one, they could take a break so they could come back clear-minded, or two, they could work on another resident in the building that perhaps need their help, that when they're spending half an hour turning over sheets and stuff like that. So do you have any, do you think we're doing enough with our tech in communities to help staff, or also are we just putting tech into our communities and asking them to do more and leading to burnout?
Well, I think this is a big challenge, because every time we add a new piece of technology that requires staff, whether it's frontline staff or nurses or anybody to interact with that tool, it means it takes additional time to use that tool. It takes learning. It takes cycles to learn how to use that tool, and it costs money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to look at it. And I've seen lots of things out there where I go, that's really cool, but I don't know that it provides enough benefit to make it worth the cost to staff. And so you really got to look at it and say, does that, and particularly right now when staffing is so difficult, when we struggle to find enough staff, to retain staff, maybe the number one criteria is going to be when I walk in and I show my caregivers, my housekeepers, my cooks, my servers, this new piece of technology that they're going to have to use and implement. Are they going to, maybe not initially because people tend to resist change, but are they in 3 months or 6 months go, man, I am so glad we bought this. It makes my job better. It makes my life, or even it doesn't make my job better, but it makes the residents' lives so much better that I love using it because I can see the joy in their face. And maybe that's the criteria.
Yeah. And you know what a lot of people are trying to incorporate nowadays? AI. And I also wanted to talk about that because that's what the episode was supposed to be about today. But I feel like you and I have, and I can talk about a little bit differing opinions on AI. I personally, like, I come from a creative space. I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the episode, but I got a degree, bachelor's degree in media and film production from ASU. And I come from a creative space where AI is just like this big, like, no. And I definitely agree in a creative space. I'd like to keep it out of creative pursuits just because of the way AI is trained. But AI is definitely a plus in the sense of what it can do for residents in medical things. I was watching a video the other day about how there's an AI training program where they're taking pictures of people's skin. And if you're looking at a spot on your skin, you can see like the AI can like not diagnose you, but say like, oh, that's skin cancer. You should go get a look at. And I think that's for people that can't leave their house, they're immobile, or they don't have anyone to take them to doctor's appointments. And they're like, just for that ease of mind at home. Obviously, I feel like there should be a lot of interaction with the medical field and not just taking like, oh, an AI said I have skin cancer. But what do you like? You already have made your thoughts on AI clear, but I like to talk a little bit about that. Like, where do you see that line? Is there a line for you of like, I will not use AI for this, I will use AI for this, etc.?
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts on this. Let me just make some notes because I want to make sure I hit both.
So we could be arguing about this the whole time. We're gonna do.
Well, I don't know that argument. I think it's just a way to look at it. So I saw a post on LinkedIn, I think in the middle of the night last night, where somebody who does creative writing had posted that they sat down and they wrote this content piece for a client. So they were a contract writer, and the client had run it through an AI checker, and AI checker said it was 70% AI, and they rejected the content. And she was highly offended because she had not used AI to write this stuff at all. And she went back to the client and argued it and said, okay, well, you go write something. We did. And the client went back and wrote something original and found that the AI checker said the same thing, that it looked like it was all AI. And so and there were a lot of comments, several hundred comments on it. And I was looking at a few of the comments, and I got to looking at it, and I came to 3 conclusions. Number one, the first is, does it matter whether it's AI or human generated as long as it accomplishes the task that you're trying to accomplish? And I'm going to throw a question back at you as a creative. Let's assume that AI, you can go to AI and prompt it and get it to completely generate on its own. I mean, I know we can't do this far out there, but we could get it to create a Schindler's List or a Titanic movie that made people weep, that touched people's hearts. Does it matter if it's AI or not?
Well, I feel like you're going to think I'm just saying this, but I really do feel like it does. Like, there's a human touch to art and a human like experience it's had. I personally don't think AI will get to a point where it's going to create a movie that can make me cry. And you know what? If it does, I'll eat my words. But I don't think it will. I also think a long time ago, I told you how, one, I'm very curious about how they're going to regulate AI in the future, because there was that one, and maybe I can put this in the comments later. There was a case where a monkey took a photo and someone tried to copyright it, and they're like, well, it's a monkey, you can't copyright that. I feel similarly to AI. It's like, well, it's a machine. So like, if you are going to do it, like, you can't really copyright your work because it's a machine generated prompt that's a derivative of other people's work. So I maybe I'd like to see a Titanic movie that AI creates, but I don't think we're any.
Okay, well, let's take this a little bit further though. This is really a great conversation. So AI is ultimately just a massive. The large language model that drives AI is just a massive collection of people's creativity, right? So if it could create it, it's really just this conglomeration of what other people have already done. And when you really think about it, every filmmaker is only a good filmmaker because they've watched lots of other people's films and absorbed that and thought about it and that used that to do its own creativity. And so I don't know how that's all that much different than AI.
Well, because then I feel like you get into like, when will AI become sentient? And then you're like, why are we giving a job to a filmmaking job to AI that a human could do?
Because it's doing a better job.
I don't know. We'll have to.
Okay. So I want to give you my two other points that I put on there. Okay. I want to get a couple more things. So my second point is that if it's AI, it shouldn't matter as long as the production is right. The second thing is that in my view, AI is a tool. So before AI existed, I was a good writer. I can use AI with my already good writer and you let AI make it better. And that doesn't take away from me, it just makes it better. And so rather than looking at AI as the enemy, I mean, wouldn't you're an aspiring filmmaker maybe, and wouldn't you love to be able to have somebody who's an accomplished filmmaker? I don't know, who's a filmmaker you already admire?
Ryan Coogler. He's done the Black Panther movie and then movies as well. He just did Release Sinners earlier this year. If you've seen that, it was really
okay.
Good.
So let's suppose you created a movie and then you had a chance to go to him and say, "Help me make this even better." Would that be good or bad?
I mean, probably good if he was giving his input.
Yeah, that's right. And yet you could argue, if you look at it from an AI argument, well, I don't want his input because that means it's his movie, not mine. And I would argue that the way you use AI is you take it. So very simple for me. So I use two paid AIs and it knows my writing style. Mm-hmm. And so if I ask it to help me, mostly what I ask it to do is help me with grammar and spelling, because as you know, I'm not so good at that. And we have copywriters, we have people who do copy editors with it, but it makes their job easier if I actually ask AI to do that. But sometimes I'll make a list and I'll say, here are 6 things that will help a senior living better. And I'll go, I really like to have 8 more. And I'll go to AI and say, give me some ideas of what else I might add to that list. Sometimes I get good stuff, sometimes I don't. And then the third thing is that if I write something and put it into AI and AI says it looks like it's all AI, maybe that means it's not good enough. And that rather than being mad about it, that it means I need to go back and make it better.
And before we wrap up the AI portion of this conversation, I will say, I think there's a difference, at least to me, predictive AI versus generative AI. I feel like AI has also become kind of a buzzword lately and being like, oh, like a business will be like, we incorporate AI, like we use this when they've been using it for like 10 years. Like for instance, Apple, when you're text messaging someone, this has been for years now. If you're text messaging someone, it'll look up like, oh, the next word that's going to the conversation. Or if you commonly spell a word a certain way and then your text messages sees that you commonly spell words this way, it'll kind of like autocorrect, if that makes sense. So it has been around for a while, and I definitely do think, I don't think it's going anywhere. I just feel like, I guess it's up to all of us as kind of consumers of the product to how you use it responsibly, not making sure it's not taking away people's jobs, but adding to what's already out there. And like I said, making lives easier. Because I really do think that kind of inventions like the skin cancer thing is really going to lead to a lot of help for a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is that I'm having cataract surgery, my first cataract surgery, doing two eyes differently. So the first one's tomorrow morning. And so on Friday, I got a message that the surgeon who's doing the eye surgery wanted a sign off from my primary care physician. They primarily wanted an EKG. And so I went in yesterday morning, they did an EKG, and the EKG showed some abnormalities. And it's really been there a long time. Apparently 10 plus years ago, I had a silent heart attack. It doesn't really impact me. It's a little scary to think about that. I don't know when, I have no idea when it happened. I think it was probably 15 years ago. It seems to be stable. My heart, I mean, on Sunday, I did almost 9 miles. I'm not about to die, I don't think. I've got a cardiologist I work with. But my wife looked at the EKG, and she's an old ICU nurse, and she was a little nervous about it. So I went into my medical record last night, and I clipped out the EKG, and I loaded it into ChatGPT, and I gave it a little bit of my history, and I said, do I have anything to worry about? And it gave me back 2 or 3 pages of really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, would I use that to try to treat my heart disease? And no, and I wouldn't, of course, but it provided quite a bit of reassurance. So
yeah, definitely the peace of mind aspect. And we have a few minutes left, so I want to get to one of my last questions, which I thought would be kind of fun. Resident engagement, tech for that. I want to know if you have any thoughts about that, because when I was coming up with questions yesterday, I was like, how does age tech improve the senior living community? And I thought about using it to create activities for residents. And I was thinking, what would be my dream if I was a resident? If one of my family members was a resident, what would I think was really cool use of tech? And I thought, because I love movies, I love a book club, virtual film clubs, and a virtual book club, and multiple communities involved, I think would be a great use of tech, especially because it's kind of hard to, like, say 2 local senior living communities wanted to do a book club. Sometimes it's hard to get all of the residents into one community, near impossible. So using tech for that kind of thing, where you could set up a Zoom call and have people that maybe perhaps wouldn't have even met or had the time to meet in their weeks, build friendships that way. I think it's amazing, as well as if residents are sick, you don't want to, if there's immunocompromised residents in the facility. So I'm curious about, how do we think we can use age tech to promote resident engagement? Are there any cool use cases that you have seen lately?
So I think that tech has got so much opportunity, and AI has so much opportunity to improve the lives of residents. I had a conversation with somebody earlier this week, and I'd like to get them on for Tech Tuesday, and they're working on a series of classes to go into senior living communities and teach people the basics of how to use AI in their everyday life. And I really like that a lot. I think that things like a Zoom book club would be terrific. I'm going to ask you a little trivia question here. What age group is has the largest number of gamers right now gamers online?
Oh, either Gen Z or millennials? Really?
65 plus.
Really?
Now, it's not typical multiplayer that you would think of, but it's things like Wordle and Sudoku and crossword puzzles and jigsaw puzzles. I mean, I sometimes, my sort of little fiddle is I do play some Sudoku when I need a break for a few minutes. That's really the only thing. But man, my wife is doing jigsaw puzzles. She's doing all kinds of stuff on her iPad. I bet she spends several hours a day on that. So I think there's this, I think there's this massive opportunity for somebody to go out and create maybe some multiplayer games that are geared towards people who are 65, 70 years old, that will actually that could make a lot of money. I think there are a lot of other things. The other thing it's not so much tech oriented, but I think that the tech sort of plays into it, is that and this is inspired by my friend Ken Dykewald. I've got an article coming out of this out in the next few weeks, but I'm going to write about it. But I think that senior living ought to be the purpose factory, where we actually are creating opportunities for people to go out and really make a difference in the world, substantive difference. Most of the purpose activities that happen in senior living, and this isn't exactly tech, are pretty self-centered, pretty self-oriented. They're entertainment kinds of purpose, rather than change the world kinds of purpose. And so what are most seniors doing? The average senior watches 47 hours of, I think it's 47, 49 hours of TV a week. That's a lot of time that can be devoted to, I don't know, teaching kids, planting trees, picking up trash, changing the world. And I think that's really where the opportunity is if senior living became the purpose factory for older people. So
I absolutely agree, Steve. I think that giving people activities for the sake of activities is because there's so much rich knowledge in older generations that people could be accessing and preserving and having these conversations. I know a lot of people in my age range, if they just knew about these communities, I feel like there would be there's so much opportunity for not just senior living to be purposeful for aging adults, but for younger people that really want to know like their history of the people that are living in these communities. So I think there's a lot to be found, and we can do it through tech. And that we're over time. So thank you so much, Steve, for allowing me to interview you today. You guys, if you guys want to keep up with me, I'm on LinkedIn at Jada Clint, but I don't post that much. So maybe I should start. Steve, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks for watching, Jada. You did an amazing job, and we will have to do this again. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Bye, guys.